What is up, my wizards? Dev, back again, SBMTG. I got like 9 of these spoilers for you today. Sorry, it's going up so late. I just wanted to make sure I had as much information about all these cards as I possibly could. So, let's go ahead and get to it. I'll go ahead and put something I think is really good up first. This is Hallowed Moonlight. They spoiled this late last night, and it basically says counter-target collected company, which is pretty important, especially in Modern. Also, of course, counters reanimator strategies, tokens, I guess that's a thing. Twin in Modern, which is going to be important. Kiki Cheeky to some extent. The occasional See the Unwritten. This does a lot of stuff for us in Standard and Modern, so I do in fact like this card. Obviously just sort of a sideboard option, but it will do some work in some formats, I think. Will be an important card. So I'm going to rate it fairly high here because I think it's really good. And it cantrips. You get to draw a card, so that's pretty awesome. This next guy is not as exciting. This is Aspiring Aeronaut, and I think he does have some stuff going for him as far as limited is concerned. I think he's pretty good in draft and sealed, but obviously really no standard play, so I'm not going to spend much time on him. Other than to say that Virulent Plague gets better every day. There's tokens like crazy. This is a pretty weird card. This is Pyromancer's Goggles, and a lot of discussion about this so far today, but I'm not really sure that it's great. You know, in a traditional red burn deck, it's going to be the 6th turn before you can start really doing anything with this. You're usually out of spells by then. There's also, you know, you could run this in red-green, as some people have considered, but I just think that that's a wasted slot, or you just don't have the space in your deck for something like this. So I don't think it's great. It'll probably see Commander play, though, I would assume. And copying a spell and getting extra mana to cast the spell is pretty powerful, but I think they've sort of priced it out of the market in this instance. This here is Molten Vortex, which a lot of people have written off, and a lot of people actually kind of like. But more people are in the I'm writing this off camp. We had a card back in the day, Stormbind, which was really important, and of course, Seismic Assault. This is a quote-unquote fixed version of Seismic Assault because you have to pay mana for it. I think that this might go with Aggressive Mining, even though I still don't think Aggressive Mining is a deck. But, you know, all the lands you can't play that sit in your hand, you can now do something with them. So that's kind of cool, but I still am not 100% sure that this is going to do anything. Although it seems so breakable to me that I'm not going to count it out. I feel like this could do things. Here's a dumb enchantment. I'm not really sure. This is probably the card that I'm like least excited about, honestly. Like, I'm not even sure that this is great like in Commander or anything. Let me know if I'm missing something here, because I feel like that's way too much mana for really not much. I mean, it's like Bitter Blossom is good and all, but that's because it costs 2, and this is just in no way in the same league as something like Bitter Blossom. Some people are comparing it to that. And in no way is this Bitter Blossom, guys. It's just not. So I'm not a huge fan. I'll have you know. This next guy is Goblin Glory Chaser, which is just, again, with the dumb names. But just a couple of days ago, I was like, I'd really like to see a good 1-drop Goblin. And this is exactly, I think, what this is. So is it premium? Maybe. 2nd turn, you can obviously do the Subterranean, whatever his name is. Nobody can remember his name when they're talking about him. Here's a picture of him right here. He's also in Magic Origins. But you can play him 2nd turn, get this guy through, activate Renown, then he has Menace. That's cool. You could always play Hammerhand on him 2nd turn. So there's plenty of things that you could do to get this guy's Renown trigger off. And he becomes really good once you get Renown off. He's a 1-mana 2/2 you have to work for, but you get extra value when he does become a 2/2. And people are probably going to let this guy through once you've got Horde of Rabble Masters and Pile Drivers and stuff coming at you. So this guy probably gets lost in the shuffle or just prioritized way down the list. So I think his Renown will go off at some point in the game. I think this guy's pretty good. He's probably not going to make waves in anything other than Standard. Goblin Guide is just ridiculous, but this is a more than fair card for Standard, especially once things like Foundry Street rotate out. That card is just crazy. Yet another card. This is Ember Maw Monstrosity, which I've done a lot of thinking about. I'm not totally sure if this is good or not, and a lot of people are feeling that way. There's no one like really hardcore supporting it. There's no one really hardcore against it. 5 mana for a 4/5 is probably fine. It's splashable. The text on the card is pretty good in a world full of goblins, tokens, burn. You know, this card can do a lot of work for you. Turns your lightning strikes into Stoke the Flames and your wild slashes into lightning strikes, and seems good at the very top of your curve, but we also have we have Stormbreath Dragon, Thundermaw Region, and Avaricious Dragon if you want to do that. So I'm just not sure that this will be able to find a place in a world full of fat dragons at that end of the curve. You know what I mean? Here's a card I'm fairly interested in. This is the Great Aurora, and that's a cool name. But in any case, people counted out Scapeshift for a while. They said it was junk, jank card, whatever. And then, to this now, Scapeshift is one of the more important cards in the modern format. So, I don't want to say this is the next Scapeshift. It costs an awful lot of mana, but even in Standard and Green Devotion decks, we make tons of mana via Nykthos and Mana Rampers and stuff like that. So, it's really not much to ask for, all things considered. We can get there in a deck that features, Hornet Queen. I forgot the name of it. It's in Magic Origins. I'll put a picture of it right here. It's the guy that when he comes into play, he goes and gets a green 3-drop for you and puts it into play too. So there's a lot of good enter the battlefield triggers we can exploit with this, and there's probably other ways. Somebody will break this card, but that's exactly what people said about Biorhythm. I was going to say Omniscience, but people have broken Omniscience. I can't really say that. But I think this card does a thing. Just had to figure out what that thing is. I don't think it's very straightforward, but I'm going to go ahead and rate it a little higher than I probably should, just like by a quarter of a point, because this probably will end up doing something. Oh, well, they spoiled a card while I was recording this. So this is Gaeas Revenge. It's a reprint, and it's way better this time than it was the first time it was printed. Nobody's pointing this out, but the last time this card was printed, I don't think we had Devotion or anything. Green deck's capable of, making 14 mana on, like, the 6th turn. So it's entirely possible we may see this. I think it's definitely better than Terra Stomper. As far as that goes, may help keep blue-black controller, Esper controller in check. So I actually think this card may make far more waves than it did the last time. Another notable thing is that it's not Mythic anymore. It used to be Mythic, now it is rare, which means you're far more likely to see it in limited play. So you get this in sealed, I'd probably play it. Survives Languish, Stoke the Flames, Exquisite Firecraft, just a lot of things that we're playing right now. It survives pretty much, it's got hexproof for the most part, except for like Abzan Charm, this doesn't go under that. So there's a lot of things I think going for this card right now. We might see it, at least in sideboards, if not main decks, but I doubt that. But I do think this takes the place of Terra Stomper in like budget sideboards, because I don't think it's going to get very expensive. But I'm glad this came out. And finally, this is the big conversation piece of the day. This is Infinite Obliteration. This is probably one of the top 3 cards people have been the most polarized by in this spoiler season. A lot of people say it's really good. A lot of people say it's really bad. So, what do I think? I have the temptation here to cop out and just be like, no, who knows, But I'm going to go ahead and say that it's probably good. They're especially in Standard. Modern, maybe, but not as much, obviously. Now, in Standard, there are some issues. A couple of them being Green-Red Dragons, Green-Red Devotion, those decks, they don't really care. They don't really care if you remove one of their enormous threats, because they have 1,000 of them. Esper Dragons will probably just counter this, all things considered. There are reasons why it might not. Siege Rhino. Everyone's saying this takes care of Siege Rhino. Situationally, yes. Siege Rhino, though, Abzan decks usually seek to play Siege Rhino on their 3rd turn. So, this card would only be relevant if they didn't get an Elvish Mystic or Sylvan Caryatid, which is very likely to get those. And you are on the play. If you're on the draw, it's no longer relevant. They'll probably play their Siege Rhino. Now, you can still go get the other 3. I'm not saying you can't, but you're not dealing with anything on the board when you cast this card. Those are the arguments against it. The arguments for it are, especially in Standard, we're playing a ton of huge creatures on the top end of the curve right now. That means that a card like this is better. This is Hero's Downfall. This is Hero's Downfall mana. It costs the same as Hero's Downfall. And people are saying, oh, this is like a 4-for-1. And really, it's not exactly that. But in a lot of decks, it's going to take care of the big threat. If we can get this to resolve, it takes care of a Jutai, either Silumgar, Stormbreath Dragon, any of the 100 other things that we're playing right now. Doesn't hit Planeswalkers, which is kind of like it only hits creatures. But I will say, I was just asking the other day too for a good black removal piece, and I think this is a very interesting design choice for a black removal piece. Will it be the only efficient one we see in Origins? Maybe. But will this card make waves? I think so. I definitely do. People are saying blue-black control will play this card. I can get on that bandwagon, but maybe not until Hero's Downfall rotates. It might take a second, but eventually I think this card will find a home. There's been plenty of good cards that had to wait to find a home, and I think this might be one of them. So let me know how you feel about all of these cards today. I asked you yesterday and the day before that, which one would you rather see, Goblins or Boros Burn? You pretty much clearly made your voices heard here, Goblins. So the next deck I'm going to bring to you here in the next day or so is going to be Mono Red Goblins with Magic Origins. So look out for that. I know a lot of people are excited for that. So if you haven't subbed yet, now would be a pretty good time so you can catch that content and any more spoilers that come through. Remember to please, I'm begging you, like, share, comment, subscribe. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Won't be long. I'll be right back. In any case, as usual, thanks for watching, my wizards.